Finding our techniques, because there's always someone that points out a potential error or a supposed flaw in what we do, and we've spent a lot of time perfecting the techniques of telling size and distance of structured objects. But when you're dealing with a light in the sky, you have to look at it in a different way. So what we've done is develop a technique to look at the frequency of light, its brightness, and all of its characteristics in a single fingerprint, kind of like a voice print. It's a light print called a sigma. So we have a database of stars, Hale-Bopp, airplane lights, quartz lights, and flares. So we know with precision all of the characteristics of these known objects. So when we start with a video like the Phoenix lights, we take all of the lights that are in that picture, airplane lights, city lights, and the unknowns, and test them, build a database, and then compare it to knowns.
Now, Village Labs and yourself have been also instrumental in taking a detailed examination of the extraordinary footage that came out of Mexico City on the 6th of August last year, courtesy of Jaime Maussan and his team down there. What were your first impressions about that video, and after analysis, what do you now conclude?
Well, when I first looked at it, I thought it was a large object suspended by a helicopter. But upon careful examination, I found no evidence in the vertical interval that it had ever been gen-locked, where it would be a small model that would be dissolved or superimposed. In that case, it would have to hit an editing system or a computer system which would modify the subcarrier. Not information in the picture, but information on the black line in between the picture. Upon analysis of that, it's not a miniature that has been gen-locked and dissolved and overlaid. The clouds and the cloudy day make it suspicious. That will mask elements of overlay. Well, concerning whether it's a large object suspended by a helicopter, when we do a tracing on each frame of the object and take a horizontal line as the center of gravity through it and the crown on the top, call that the fulcrum, and run an imaginary line all the way up into infinity on each frame, if it's suspended by a cable, we will find that the fulcrum meets at an apex up there somewhere. Well, it doesn't meet at an apex. It looks like it's wobbling and could be connected to a center shaft somewhere, but it's not. Second, when it moves, it dips with a mass inertia that is not that of a cable tugging on it. It doesn't move and then wobble back into place to settle. And we studied the edges of it and determined that compared to the edges of other buildings that are in there, that it's a large object.
Among the hundreds of visitors to this year's Congress, we came across leading American abduction researcher Yvonne Smith, who will join with Jaime Maussan at this year's Leeds International Conference. What, we ask, could delegates at Leeds expect to see and hear?
But I've been researching, working with abduction cases now for almost 10 years, and in Leeds I'll be presenting my work, my data, with the cases that I've been working with throughout the United States. The audience will see actual artwork taken from my cases, my caseload. I work with an artist, and I call him my police artist, and he will sit and draw what my clients have described seeing, and I also have the abductees themselves doing the drawings, so they will see beautiful artwork and actual body marks, what kind of alien beings have been described in my cases, and so I think it's going to be a full show. Hopefully we'll have time for questions and answers, and I may bring a couple of video clips with me.
Another regular visitor to the United Kingdom is American researcher James Courant. He was one of the guest speakers at this year's London conference. James was instrumental in bringing to prominence a certain Dr. Michael Wolff, a controversial figure who claimed he once worked with back-engineered alien technology at Area 51 in Nevada.
Michael Wolf is definitely in the genius category. He's been through some serious debriefing. I have confirmation beyond any reasonable doubt in my mind, based on my sources, that he did work at Area 51, Groom Lake, and also a place called Dulce, New Mexico, which I have been up to Dulce and have checked with some people that would probably have the answers I was looking for, and as far as what I needed to know, I feel it was a secret research base tied in with the U.S. government.
Let me just ask you this. Of all the revelations and claims attached to Dr. Michael Wolf, which do you think is perhaps the most significant claim of all?
That he worked directly with extraterrestrial biological entities. And I would put Michael's interview up. I did an hour-and-a-half interview on video, which wasn't really designed to be shown to the public, but they showed it here. And it was just my little camera being set up, and it was the first interview that he allowed with on video with his face being shown, and he was very cordial about it, and he comes across, I feel, very intelligent and credible. One lady in here was a medical doctor, and she saw the interview and wants to talk to him. She felt he definitely came across as somebody that was very truthful.
Among the visitors to Laughlin, we came across former U.S. military combat man John Vasquez, who describes how an entire battalion of some 1,300 men were abducted in September 1977.
And this is when the captain, our captain of Delta Company, 1st Battalion, 1st Infantry, was walking out from this building to make a speech. And this speech was to advise us of our 6 to 8 weeks training course. And just when he was walking up to this dais of podium to make this speech, I heard this rushing noise.
A rushing noise?
A rushing noise. And I leaned back and I looked across to my left, and I saw this bright light, intense bright light. I thought it was a Jeep or a truck or something, and it was moving across slowly. And I saw some of Charlie Company's men running out of their formation. Others were standing still. And I wanted to take a better look at this, so I leaned forward. And when I leaned forward, this bright light just got really close, and it was in between the tree lines, and I still thought it was a truck, but the light was really, really intense. I mean, it's white, bright light. And I don't know what happened here, but I went unconscious for a few minutes. And when I came to, I was looking downwards, and I couldn't move. I couldn't move my feet. And I tried desperately to move from where I was standing. The next thing I did was I could move my upper body, so I turned to my right, and I saw someone had been running to the tree lines, and others were diving underneath the building. There's a 2-story high crawl space that you see in the picture. And my buddy, Alan, I think that's his name right now, running. They were all running, so I cried out for Alan to come back and help me, because I couldn't move. So he came back and pulled me where I was standing, physically pulled me. He just pulled my arm, physically, and I sort of kind of jumped from the position I was standing. And he was asking, he was saying, take cover, and I was asking, what's going on here? You know, something's happening, and it was happening fast.
I understand that you also heard some screams from those members that were still back on the parade ground, some calling for them others.
Yes, sir. That part, well, it was right after when Sergeant Santini, we saw him coming out from the first building where me and Alan just crossed, and this ball white light from 50 feet where we were laying down, it looked like the size of a melon, a small melon, cantaloupe. But it was a bright white light, and it wasn't a tracer, because I know I've seen tracers before. I fired in my M16s, and I know what tracers look like. But this wasn't no tracer, because it sort of came from the second story, and it sort of roller coaster down to Sergeant Santini's height, and Sergeant Santini's about 5'11", about 5'11", 6 foot, and he was waving up and down his arms, screaming about what's going on, telling us to take cover, and he was cursing the sky because something was coming down. And he started to run. He disappeared up in the second building, and this bright line just sort of roller coaster itself down to his height and zipped across, and it disappeared. The next thing we heard was a slap and a thump, and one of us, Hackett, crawled over to the other side to see where Sergeant Santini was, and he was out on the pavement. He didn't move. Apparently he was knocked out or something. Something hit him. And when he came back, this is when we started hearing the screaming from Alpha Company all the way down to Bravo, then to Charlie Company, and to Delta. When I came to Delta Company, we heard somebody out in the parade formation screaming for Mommy. And it went a kind of high-pitched scream and down to a Gretland sort of scream, and I could still hear it when I talk about this. And, I mean, you hear a man screaming like that, you know something's going wrong. And I told Jones, who was lying next to me, I told him we should go out there and help these guys because something's going on out there. He just turned around and said, no, they're already dead, forget about it.
The International UFO Congress and Film Convention concludes its week-long series of events with a sparkling evening gala dinner, at which the annual EB Awards, EB stands for Extraterrestrial Biological Entity, are presented to those film and television producers whose latest UFO-related works are judged best among the 7 categories. Approximately 5 hours drive east of Laughlin and a few miles east of Flagstaff, Arizona, a right-hand turn off the main highway takes you on a smooth, narrow road into flat desert terrain. Every few hundred yards, a signpost gives some indication of what lies ahead. Meteor Crater, formed 49,000 years ago when a giant asteroid weighing millions of tons struck the Earth at an estimated speed of 45,000 miles per hour. It had an explosive force equal to 15 million tons of TNT, and over 300 million tons of rock were immediately displaced. It's difficult to gauge the sheer size of the crater from its rim, but it's 570 feet in depth, nearly a mile across, and over 3 miles in circumference. Inside Meteor Crater's Museum of Astrogeology, visitors can enjoy a self-guided tour of numerous exhibits and video presentations. Meteor Crater was an official NASA-designated training site and used by Apollo astronauts who would later set foot on the Moon. There have been several near misses with rogue asteroids in recent times, but were one to strike the Earth with a force equal to that which struck this part of Arizona all those years ago, the consequences would be too dreadful to contemplate. First-time visitors to the International UFO Congress often use the occasion to spend a day visiting a region of Nevada that has become a part of UFO folklore. It is, of course, Area 51. The drive to Area 51 takes several hours and can be tiring, but this entire region offers spectacular views, and if you plan your journey ahead, here are just some of the places you can visit along the way. The Hoover Dam, constructed over 60 years ago and still one of the major tourist spots in the United States. Lake Mead, situated on the outskirts of Las Vegas and a magnet for both boating and fishing enthusiasts alike, though the fish here don't seem like too much competition. Red Rock Canyon, less than 40 minutes drive from Las Vegas, takes visitors on a one-way road system through some of the most dramatic mountain scenery imaginable. Finally, the main road northwest from Las Vegas continues in a straight line for hour upon hour, until suddenly one reaches a distinctive road sign. We're just 2 hours drive outside of Las Vegas, Nevada, temperatures in the mid-60s, and we're here.
at the very start of the extraterrestrial highway 375.